A few years ago, I moved into a small apartment above an old underground parking garage. The rent was cheap, the area was quiet, and I didn't really care that. The place looked like it hadn't been renovated since the 1980 South. The landlord was an older man named Harris. He handed me the keys and told me one simple rule: never park in the last space at the far left corner. It's reserved. I asked him who for, but he just shook his head and muttered, "You'll understand soon enough." I didn't take it seriously. The spot looked normal: cracked concrete, a faint oil stain, and a broken overhead light that flickered whenever someone walked by. For the first few weeks, I followed the rule. But then came the night that changed everything. It was late, maybe close to midnight, and it was raining hard. I'd just gotten home from work, exhausted. Every parking spot was taken, except that one. I hesitated, but I told myself it's just a stupid superstition. So I parked there. As soon as I turned off the engine, the flickering light above me went completely out. The garage fell silent except for the sound of rain hitting the metal pipes. I grabbed my bag and was about to get out when I noticed something. There was another car parked beside me, an old black sedan covered in dust. I hadn't seen it there before. Its windows were fogged up from the inside, but I could make out the faint outline of someone sitting in the driver's seat. Perfectly still. I thought maybe someone was sleeping in their car, but when I got closer, I noticed the windshield. There were handprints on the inside, dozens of them, small, child-sized handprints pressed against the glass. My chest tightened. I whispered, "Hey, you okay in there?" No movement. No sound. Then, behind me, I heard it. The slow, heavy sound of footsteps echoing across the wet concrete. I turned around fast, but there was no one. Just the empty garage stretching into darkness. The footsteps stopped. I hurried upstairs, heart racing, trying to convince myself it was my imagination. But when I reached my door, I froze. There were wet footprints on the floor, small, barefoot, leading from the elevator straight to my apartment door. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I went down to move my car. The black sedan was gone. Completely. No tire marks, no puddle, nothing. But the spot where it had been parked was still wet, like something had been standing there all night. When I told Harris about it, he didn't even look surprised. He just sighed and said, "That space belonged to a family that used to live here. The father parked there every night until the accident." "What accident?" I asked. He hesitated. 10 years ago, a man came home drunk and fell asleep in his car. His wife and little girl were with him. The car filled with exhaust. None of them made it. Ever since then, anyone who parks there says they hear footsteps, like someone still looking for the way out. I wanted to move out that day, but my lease had months left. So I stayed and made sure never to park there again. But the nightmares started soon after. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear the sound of wet footsteps just outside my door. Sometimes the flickering light in the garage would come back on by itself, just for a few seconds, as if someone was standing there beneath it. A week before I finally left, I came home late again. I parked far from that cursed corner, but as I stepped out, I heard it, the faint sound of a car engine running somewhere deep in the dark. I turned toward the far left spot, and there it was, the same black sedan. Headlights on this time. Inside, through the fogged-up window, I saw movement. 2 figures, small, pale, sitting in the back seat. I blinked, and the lights went out. When I looked again, the car was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I packed my things and left before dawn. Even now, years later, whenever I park underground, I still glance toward the far left corner, half expecting to see those handprints on the glass waiting for me to make the same mistake again. I used to work the late shift at a small medical clinic on the edge of town. It wasn't a hospital, just one of those quiet, 24-hour places where people came in for minor emergencies. Most nights were slow. An occasional drunk guy with a cut, a kid with a fever, maybe someone with chest pain. Nothing serious. The clinic was always cold at night. The hum of the fluorescent lights was constant, and the smell of disinfectant never really went away. My desk was near the front, right beside the security cameras. I liked watching the empty hallways on the screens. They made me feel like I wasn't completely alone. Until one night. They didn't. It was a Friday, and the rain hadn't stopped for hours. The other nurse, Carla, went home early because the power kept flickering. Around 2:30 a.m., I was the only one left, just me and Dr. Mason in his office down the hall. That's when I noticed something strange. On the monitor showing the waiting room, the front door opened slowly. No one came in. It just stayed open, swinging slightly. I figured the wind must have done it, so I went to close it. But when I got there, the door was already shut, locked. I turned around, and that's when I heard the first sound, faint, like someone dragging their feet across the tiles. It came from the patient wing. I called out, "Dr. Mason?" But no answer. I checked each room one by one. All empty. The lights buzzed softly above me, and the shadows from the hallway seemed longer than they should have been. Then I saw it. Room 6, the one that had been closed for months because of repairs. The light under the door was on. I could hear movement inside. Slow, shuffling footsteps. I hesitated and slowly turned the handle. The smell hit me first, strong, metallic, like blood. The room was dark except for one overhead light flickering on and off. In the middle of the room stood a hospital bed, and someone was lying in it, covered head to toe with a white sheet. I froze. "Dr. Mason?" I whispered. No response. I stepped closer, and the heart monitor next to the bed suddenly beeped. One single tone, then flatlined. I jumped back, and the door slammed shut behind me. I screamed and pounded on it, but it wouldn't open. Then, from under the sheet, something moved. A slow rise, like someone breathing again. I bolted out as soon as the door clicked open on its own. Back in the hall, the lights were all off now, except for the ones leading to Dr. Mason's office. I ran toward it. The door was slightly open, and I could see him sitting at his desk, facing away from me. "Doctor," I gasped. "There's someone in room 6. He didn't move. I stepped closer, and the smell, that same metallic stench, filled the air again. I touched his shoulder. He was cold. His skin was pale gray, his eyes wide open, staring at nothing. His throat had been cut clean across. I stumbled back, shaking, trying to process what I was seeing, when I heard it again, that slow, dragging sound. This time it was behind me. I turned around, and there, at the end of the hall, stood the figure from room 6, still wrapped in the white sheet. It moved slowly toward me, one step at a time, leaving faint red footprints on the tiles. I ran. I don't even remember how I got outside. I just remember the sound of the rain and the reflection of that figure in the glass door, still standing inside, watching me leave. The police arrived minutes later. They said Dr. Mason had been dead for hours before I found him. There was no one else in the building, and room 6 was empty when they checked. The cameras had no footage after 2:30 a.m., just static. I quit that same night, but a few months later, I got a call from an old coworker. The clinic reopened under new management. Everything was remodeled, new paint, new lights, new rooms. Everything except one thing. Room 6 was still sealed shut, and every night around 2:30 a.m., Nurses swear they hear a heart monitor beep once, then go silent again.